Hey guys, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing my What I Read in April video. So I'm really excited because April I actually read more books than I've read all year so far. I read 4 books, and if you watched my other video, which I think accidentally got deleted, so that's cool, so you can go back and watch it. But in that video, I talked about how I only had read 3 books in January, February, March. It's just been like kind of a really slow reading year for me. But my goal for this year was to read 55 books in the whole year. So I'm really trying to at least get closer to that goal. I'm not going to be terribly upset if I don't make it, but I do good with I do good with goals usually. Like, that usually really motivates me and inspires me. I know for some people, setting goals like that really weighs them down and they feel pressure, but for me it just helps keep me motivated and actually get a lot more reading done, and it actually helps me prioritize my reading above other things. So I think for me it's actually really helpful. So with all that said, this month in April I read 4 books. So I was really excited, so I'm just going to get on into it and talk to you about them. Also, I'll try to link my Goodreads down below. Usually, I try to post more review type things there. I usually, after every book, I'll post an initial thoughts at least, and if there's more thoughts later on, I'll usually post a longer review. But almost always I post a review, at least my initial thoughts about the books, on Goodreads. So I'll try to I'll try to link that down below so you can kind of keep updated with my reading, and I actually probably say things better in writing, at least when it comes to reviews. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. The first book I read this month, or in May, was Just Listen by Sarah Dessen. This was a reread for me. I did this half and half. I listened to part of it on audiobook and part of it I read it. I really didn't know how I was gonna like this getting into it. Revisiting it, at first I thought, oh no, this is gonna be terrible. I don't know, so this follows, I'm gonna just tell you what it's about. This follows our main character, Annabelle, and she is a model, who had something terrible happen to her. And since then, she's been ostracized from her friends and kind of just trying to figure it out. And her sister deals with anorexia, and so it talks about that, and she's trying to figure out if she wants to do modeling and who she really is. And she meets this boy named Owen. It's Sarah Dessen. It has to have a love interest, and Owen is this person who always tells the truth. He got arrested, and so he's been through anger management, and so he really is focusing on telling people the truth. And for Annabelle, that's hard for her because she's always a conflict avoider, and so she doesn't lie to people, but she'll withhold things from people a lot of times because she doesn't want them to be mad at her. And so it kind of follows her story of meeting Owen and their personalities and how they interact, and she discovers stuff about herself by knowing Owen. And so at first I didn't know if I'd like this book going into it again, because there's a lot of talk about her secret tragedy that happened, and for a while I thought her secret tragedy was going to be really low and shallow. And when they're building up this secret that she has, it has the chance to go either way. You could either be a really good secret and you're wow, that was great, but a lot of times in books, especially in YA contemporary, I find that they have the secret, and then when you get to the secret's reveal, when it's revealed, it's really lame. And so I was really concerned with this book going into it that the secret was going to be not great. And when this was one of, I really liked this book, before, in my memory of the Sarah Dessen books, this is one that I always remember a lot of. I remember a lot of the quotes, because there's a lot of he does a lot of anger management quotes in this book. So one of the quotes that I always remembered from this book was, she says interesting, and he goes, that's a placeholder. And that's something that I always remembered about this book, is using your words wisely. And so I remember liking this book, but when I got into it, I wasn't, I said, sure if I was going to like it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I would not suggest listening to an audiobook because Owen's voice, is so, so distracting. He sounds like a nasally, nerdy it's a girl voicing it, and so she's doing both voices. But the audiobook, to me, I was just like, there's many times that I almost quit the audiobook just because I couldn't take it. But it was easier for me to get through this book if I were to do the audiobook. All that to say, I wouldn't recommend the audiobook. I would recommend just actually reading it, because I pictured Owen totally different than what the audiobook portrayed. And so it was kind of like, and he's supposed to have this like dark, deep, husky voice, and the audiobook, from what I remember, was like, "Hello, are you here? Annabelle, oh my gosh." And he sounded like Mouth McFadden from One Tree Hill. I don't know if that's very accurate, but that's kind of what I pictured in my head when her voice changed to Owen's character, so yeah. But overall, this was a really fun read, and I really enjoyed this book. The next book that I read in April was The Disappearances by Emily Bain Murphy, and this is a book that I didn't know a whole lot going in. I started this book after I finished Shadow Girl, and I was expecting this to be about people that disappear. That is not what this book was about. Granted, I don't think I read a whole lot about this book. I just wanted to read it. So this is about a town named town called Sterling, where things disappear every 7 years. So like they can no longer see their reflections. They can no longer smell flowers. Like, there's certain things that they cannot do anymore. And every 7 years, something else gets taken away. I think that's every 7 years. And so there's a whole mystery about why they're getting who's taking away, if someone's going to take them away, and what is revolving around it. And this girl's mother, Juliet, was someone in the town that was immune to the things. And so after family tragedies and stuff, this girl, this girl, Ayla, and her brother move into this town where these things keep happening. And it's just her search to find out the truth, because a lot of people think that her and her family have something to do with it, since her mom was immune to the things that were happening in the town and the sister towns. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a little bit slow for me at times and uninteresting for me at times, but I think that was a personal problem. Like, I really did, once I got to the story and like what happened, I really did enjoy it, and I thought it was very like nicely written, and just the mystery and stuff was interesting to me the whole time. Like, I was interested in the story, I was surprised, and it just had a really nice element into it. It was like parallel times of things going on, and I don't know if that made sense, but I really enjoyed this book. The next book that I read in the month of April was The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the second book in the Raven Cycle. So I don't want to say much about this synopsis because it's the second book in the series, but the series follows Blue and these boys, and they're out to find this old ancient king that can grant a wish. And Blue is a daughter of a psychic in a family of psychics, but she has no power. The only power that she really has, or I don't know if it's called a power, but she can intensify other people's powers. And she's been told ever since she was little that if she kisses her true love, they will die. And so she's with these boys, and the stories of them finding I think it's Cape Swatter. Anywho, this is the second book. I really liked this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The reason it got a lower rating for me is I, for the life of me, cannot get into this story. And I enjoy the characters. I like where the story's going. I'm curious about where the story's headed. But once I put it down, I feel no need to pick this book back up. And it was the same with the first book. I was just struggling through it, but I wanted to know the story. The story intrigued me. The characters intrigued me. The whole thing. And it was pleasant for me to read. But I, for the life of me, could not keep up. I just was not interested. And there was, a part where, you're discovering why it's called the Dream Thieves book. And I was like, ooh, this is intriguing. But still, I could put it down and walk away and like it would never engross me. Like when I usually, like, a good book to me is like I'm stuck in the world, I can't let it go, like I need to know what happens, and this book does not do that for me. And I don't know if that's anybody else's feelings about this series. I really did enjoy the characters and the writing and the storyline, but I just don't know what about it was not, I guess, intriguing enough for me in the way to keep going. I mean, I finished it. I finished the first 2 books, and it was just kind of like, I'm interested enough to keep going, but I don't know if I'll have the same problem. And I'm wondering if any of you have faced this same problem with this series, or if you understand, or you might have an idea of why I can't, like, why I can put it down so easily and not walk back to it. I'm thinking about trying an audiobook and seeing if it, like, captures me in a different way. Maybe it's just like the reading, I just have trouble reading it. This is the first of Maggie Stiefvater's books that I have really read, and a lot of people, this is like a beloved series, and I understand why. I just don't understand why I'm not captivated by it in a way. But so if you have some insight on that, let me know in the comments, because I really want to like it and I don't know why I'm not drawn to it. Is it just a bad book? I don't know. I don't feel like it. I feel like it's a really good story, good writing. The next book that I finished in the month of April was a audiobook. And I'll put the picture here because I don't have a physical copy. I don't have a physical copy, so hopefully I can find a picture to put in this general area. It's called Love Does by Bob Goff. I really liked this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was a great audiobook. I just enjoyed it. I found this book because I follow Donald Miller, who wrote Blue Like Jazz and a couple other books that I read, and I really liked him. And he recommended this author, Bob Goff, so I picked up the audiobook, and I really, really enjoyed this book. It just tells about, like, stories of his life, how they relate to love and what love does. So, like, he would tell a story, and then he would tell you, like, how God, like, an example of God, like, love is from that example of the story. And so I found his stories to be really, his illustrations to be really impactful, and he would spend a lot of time telling me the story, and telling me this story, and I would not know where he's going with it. And then he would relate it back to God and the way that God loves. And it was just very impactful and very memorable for me. And it's a book that I've been thinking about for a long time, and how to practically do the things that he said in this book. I felt like he was just a really good storyteller. And yeah, I think I already said this, but I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was just a very enjoyable read for me, and I'll probably go back and read a physical copy so I can highlight and annotate it, because it was just really, really good. So yeah, that was the 4 books that I read this month, and or in April, and I was so happy that I did it. If you watched, I posted a video a couple days ago, or a few days ago, with my May TBR. I'm going to be doing Memoir May. So if you want to see that video to see my TBR, I know a lot of times I've been doing my TBR and my recently read videos together, but since this month I wanted to do something different, I did a separate video for my TBR. So I'll link that down below in case you want to take a look at that. Let me know if you read any of these books that I read in the month of April, and whether or not you felt differently about them, if you liked them, if you didn't like them. I'd like to know. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate all the likes and the comments, and I hope to be bringing another video for you soon. Thanks. Bye.